Hello and welcome to Philm Phuckery, the unhinged podcast where I romanticize the villain, ship anything with queer tension, and obsess over films that are either genius or deeply cursed, sometimes both. I'm your host, Spencer Jones, and this season we're diving headfirst into the chaotic comfort that is the MCU. As usual, we will be talking about the villains, the gay undertones, the logic portions of the movie, the technicalities, and of course the most chaotic moment. Let's jump into it. This week we are talking about Thor: The Dark World. I just want to warn everybody, this episode might be a little short only because the Thor movies are severely lacking in the gay undertones department. This movie specifically, I had to really dig deep just to find anything to talk about, and still I came up pretty short. So when we get there, just bear with me. I tried hard, but this one is just, it's too straight. So let's talk about the villains. Our main villain is the Dark Elves, right? Malekith and the rest of them. I don't know if they have names, the rest of them, but Malekith and the Dark Elves, right? I really like the Dark Elves as a whole. It's not my first, when I think of villains, I don't automatically think the Dark Elves, but every time I watch this movie, I'm like, they're actually really cool. I'll talk about it more in the technicalities, but I like the designs of the elves and I like the idea that people had for them. You know what I mean? I'll talk about it later, but as a group, I think they're super cool. I think they're good villains. I think they're just creepy enough. And I also think that it's pretty simple to understand what they're after, how they're getting there, what they're waiting for, you know? And I also think it might just be me and growing up watching Lord of the Rings, but I have an elf obsession and all elves are cool to me. So it might be part of that as well. People probably don't love the Dark Elves as much as I do. I'm just special that way. But I don't have much to say villain-wise for the Dark Elves other than I like them. I love elves. I always have. So anyway, our other villain though, Loki, forever and always my boy. We know this. He's still a villain in this. He's a villain up until way at the end of the MCU timeline. And even then, he's still kind of a gray area villain, I'd say. So anyway, at the beginning of the movie, we see him chained up and he's going in front of Odin and he's talking to his mom and he's like, "Hello, mother. Have I made you proud?" He's trying to save face because he did get caught after Avengers and he got brought back home with Thor, right? He's trying to still play it off. He's trying to still play cool, but I know he's embarrassed. And the poor baby, he's like, I think he feels bad. It wasn't his intention for it to go so poorly, but it did. And he just is trying to still be cool about it. He's trying to be like, yes, this is what I wanted. This is exactly where I want to be. He's probably really embarrassed. I think that in Avengers, when he was like, it's too late, I think for a split second there, he was like, oh shit, it is too late. And then he's like, here's the new plan. I'm going to stab Thor. So I just think he made a mistake and he isn't big enough yet to own up to his mistake. And maybe that's just me being delusional and loving Loki, but that's how I feel. So anyway, just the dynamic though between Loki and Frigga, his mom, it's so sad to me because Loki really, he does love his mom so much, but he's such a broken little boy. And Frigga is really, she's trying to help him and she's trying to nurture him and everything. And she probably was a really great mom. He loves her, but he's talking about how Odin's not really his father. And Frigga's like, then I'm not your mother. And he's like, you're not. I know that hurt Frigga. And I know it hurt him to say it too. And I think that's really sad. He's trying to prove a point and he just keeps digging himself a hole. He just keeps digging down and down and down and down. He can't allow himself to have people bring him out of that hole. He just keeps digging his fucking heels in and he needs to stop. He's just too impulsive in that way, I think. And he just keeps digging. And I know that the second he said that, he was like, ooh, that was too far. And then when he finds out that she's dead, I feel so bad for him. He was in a cell. And granted, he put himself there, okay? He fucked up. He didn't get to say goodbye. He didn't get to help her. He low-key made it worse because he was like, use the stairs on the left to that guy. He helped him escape. But then his mom died from that guy, you know? So I think a part of him is shameful that he probably aided in his mom's death. He didn't get to say goodbye. He wasn't there to help her. Thor didn't help her, so he resents Thor a little bit for being not protective of his mom. It's just really all so heartbreaking to me. And then when Thor does come to Loki to be like, I need your help. We're going to do this. Here's the plan. And Loki's got an illusion, so he looks all prim and proper and he looks fine. And then Thor's like, drop the illusion. And he is a wreck. He's destroyed his room. His hair is all disheveled and he's like slouched against the wall and he's not having a good time. I would be 10 times worse if I found out that my mom died. I feel that so deeply. And if I was able to create an illusion and also be like deeply depressed on the inside of that illusion, I would too. That seems scene was so beautifully done because that's just exactly how I feel like it feels. When you're trying to put on like a facade of I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm prim and proper, I am a king, I'm a god, whatever. And then he's like, but I actually am just a little sad boy who misses my mom. In that same scene as well, Loki asked Thor if she suffered. And I feel like anybody else besides Thor would have been like, okay, fuck you, Loki. Why would you ask that? He said it in such an insensitive way that anybody who assumes Loki to be Loki would be like, that's such a dick move. Why would you ask if she suffered? But Thor knows that Loki is genuinely asking, did she suffer? Was it fast? If I have lost anybody, not just my mom, you would want it to be quick and painless, you know? So I think Loki being like, did she suffer? Was him asking, was it quick? Was it painless? And Thor understood that, and I think no one else would have. Thor says that he didn't come here to share their griefs, so he knows how much Loki cared for Frigga, and I think that's really beautiful. They are brothers, and Thor cares for Frigga and Loki cares for Frigga. That's their mom, and they shared that mom, and I think it's really beautiful just how much Thor knows that Loki loved her and how much Loki must be hurting. But also, Thor's been burned so many times that he's like, Loki, I care for you. I get that you lost your mom. I lost my mom too, but I will still stab you if you try to betray me, which is really funny. I'll talk about that later. But then Thor does help Loki escape. They're trying to take Jane out of Asgard, and they're trying to escape. They take the elf ship, and then they drop down to another ship. But I think that whole scene between getting to the elf ship and then getting to the other place where they're at, that barren, I think it's like where the black elves live. I don't remember what it's called. My bad. But anyway, that scene is so funny because Jane passes out and Loki's like, oh dear, is she dead? And then he's like, and now they're following us. And now they're shooting at us. And now you just ripped off our grandfather's head. That wasn't really a villainous scene. I just wanted to point it out because it was really funny and it stood out to me. He's so comedic. I love him. Anyway, so then Loki doesn't change. At the end, he stabs the dark elf and the dark elf stabs him back. And then he fakes his own death. Thor's all sad. And he goes to Odin. He does something with Odin, which we found out later. He brings him to an old folks home in New York, which is really funny. New York? Yeah, it's in New York. Anyway, so he fakes his own death. He takes the throne pretending to be Odin. Genius. We're not shocked, just disappointed. And Loki's Loki. Whatever. But I really do feel bad for Thor because he goes at the end and he thinks he's having this heartfelt conversation with his father where his father's finally accepting his wants, and Thor is having this great heartfelt talk with his dad where his dad's like, okay, I understand if you love this girl, like you go be with her, you can still protect the 9 realms, whatever. And it's Loki the whole time. I guess Thor doesn't have to know that, but I think it's really sad for him that we know that, you know, it's not a heartfelt conversation with his dad. And I think that's what he really wanted at the time. But I guess it's still closure and it's still good for him. But anyway, I want to take it back to the Dark Elves really quick before we move on. The first thing is their black hole bombs. I don't know what to call them, but that's what it seems like it does. They throw them and then you get sucked into what looks like a black hole. So black hole bombs. What a cool concept. And when Malekith uses one of them to destroy the throne as he's walking by, that was so cunty villain. I don't know. He didn't need to do that. He did that as a sign of disrespect. And it was just so, I don't even know. I don't have the words. It was just like, ooh, you know, I don't even know. It was so disrespectful in the coolest villain way. And I don't know how else to say it. I have no other words for it. And I wish I did. If I was rooting for him, I'd be like, that is the move. That's such a power move. That's what it is. Anyway, that was really fucking cool. But then also, he gets what he deserves because when the convergence gets closer and they're fighting in the different realms, which that was really fucking cool. The way that they go through I'm going to call them portals because I don't remember what they called them. And it takes them to a different world and they're fighting on that. And then they fall and then they go into a different world and they fight in that world. And then they run and they go into a different one and fight through that world. That was so cool to watch. Just the concept alone and the way that it looked. And it was kind of funny too, the way that they would be like shocked where they were and they just kept fighting anyway. It was just so continuous and smooth. And then the whole time they go to a different realm and Thor's hammer's trying to get to him and then they come back to Earth and the hammer flies down to like get back to Thor and then he's somewhere else and it like turns and everything. So cool. I did get distracted though because we were talking about Malekith, but I really like that at the end of all of this and his arm is in one realm and then the other arm's in another realm and then his body gets sent to his realm, I think, right? Anyway, a different realm. And then so does his ship. His ship starts falling. You think it's going to land on Thor. It goes through a portal, lands directly on Malekith. Poetic. I don't know what else to say. I really liked that. He got what he deserved, and that's all I have to say about it. That's all the villains I have, other than Loki, who I love so dearly, and I didn't want to harp on him because I always do. The dark elves were not really much to talk about in ways of villainous. I have a lot to say technicality wise, just because the designs of the dark elves are so beautiful, but that's all I have for villains. So moving on to gay undertones. Again, it's just truly appalling to me how few gay undertones there are in this movie. Like, genuinely, I was trying so hard to be as delusional as possible, and you know I can be delusional as fuck. I was trying so hard to find anything. I found one split-second scene, but like, damn these Thor movies for lacking so hard in the romance department. It's so bad. Other than Thor and Jane, I've got nothing. I've got one itty-bitty scene, and that's it, because they lay on the Jane and Thor so thick. Before I give you my little speck of gay undertones, I do want to just harp on the fact that Jane and Thor are so straight in this movie. It makes me sick. They're cute, I guess, but I just like the end credit scene when Thor comes back and he lands and Jane walks up immediately and they kiss with no introductions, no anything, no hesitation. They just kiss the second he puts his feet on the ground. It's just, that's like, if you had to describe their relationship, that is the description. He lands, they kiss. And to each their own, they're cute. But I think it's so disgustingly straight. It's just too much for me. And that's the only romance in the whole movie. I've got no side glances. I've got no one-on-one conversation. I honestly don't even know. Actually, never mind. I was going to say I don't know if this passes the Bechdel test, but I think Darcy and Jane talk about stuff. But they're just not gay with each other. And it's actually really, it's unfortunate, I think. Speaking of Darcy, though, what a sad day. When she was like, that guy's cute, I'm going to kiss this guy. That's an L for the ladies, I think, that Darcy's straight. But maybe she's bisexual. We don't know. And we'll look into it further when she's in different MCU projects that are not fucking Thor. Okay, I'm just going to say everyone is bisexual until proven otherwise in this movie. And that's how I feel deeply. I just think I have to be delusional enough to believe this. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. But they're all bisexual. I think they all give that they could maybe sway the other way, although most of them are leaning towards straight by default. But I think should a beautiful lady come along for Jane or for Darcy, they would turn, you know what I mean? Or a handsome man for Thor, or for, honestly, Eric Selvig, probably. And who else? I feel like if he hadn't kissed Darcy, Ian, the intern, he seems pretty twinky. So I could see him going for a man for sure. That's not the point. I forgot. Okay, so anyway, I'm gay. Shocker. I don't know if you guys knew that. I just want to say Lady Sif is so cool. In the fight scene where it's not the opening scene, but it's the first scene that we see her and Thor in when they're like fighting for the 9 realms. She's so badass. That fight scene is so cool. That's it. She came on screen and I was like, wow, what a lady. Anyway, here's the crumb. Here's the speck. Are you ready for it? There is a scene right after the dark elf escapes from Asgard's dungeon, and he's letting all of the people out, and everyone's going to fight. Lady Sif is one of the soldiers that are ready to go fight those people, and Jane is standing there with Odin and Frigga, and they're talking, and they're like, what do we do? Here's the plan. And Lady Sif and Jane, they glance at each other. I'm choosing to believe that that is a gay glance from Lady Sif. Jane is kind of concerned, I think. I know that that's not the purpose of the glance. I'm aware that the glance was supposed to be, I think, what they wanted me to believe, and I refuse to see anything straight ever. I think what they wanted us to believe is that Lady Sif wants to be with Thor, and she's upset that Jane is with Thor. It's a jealousy thing. It's a women against women thing. I didn't see it that way, and I think it's because I'm delusional, but don't tell me if I'm wrong. I think it's because Lady Sif was like, wait, she's kind of fine, though. And I guess they met each other in Thor 1, but she was busy, you know? So this time she was like, wow, wait, Jane's beautiful. Jane was concerned, but I think she had other things on her mind. But this is what I choose to believe is a gay undertone, and don't tell me if I'm wrong. I'm so serious. Because I just don't believe that Lady Sif wants to be with Thor. If she wants to be with a man, I'm going to be sad, but that's fine. I don't believe that she wants to be with Thor at all. I think they see each other as siblings. Or like, I don't know. Maybe she had a crush on him when she was younger, but now I just wasn't feeling it. And it might just be me because I genuinely refuse to see anything as straight, but I didn't see that. So that look right there, it wasn't a jealousy look, in my opinion, in my gay little eyes. It was a look of love and admiration. And that's it. That's all I could find, you guys. In a friend department and less of a gay undertone, I thought it was really sweet and really beautiful and very anti-hyper-masculine that when Thor and Loki were getting ready to escape and all of his friends were helping him, that his friends would pull Loki to the side to be like, if you hurt him, I will kill you. If you betray him, I will kill you. If you hurt his feelings, I will kill you. And I thought that was really sweet. And okay, low-key hyper-masculine in that I will kill you. But I think it's like very sweet that they care about their boy so much so that they're like, I will end you if you hurt his feelings. Because Thor has been burned so many times and his friends really do care about him. And I think it's very sweet and it's very beautiful that they're able to do that. Anyway, that's all I have for gay undertones, I fear. I tried, you guys. I'm so sorry. It's not my fault I didn't make this movie. And I tried to be really delusional about it. That's all I have. So we're going to move on to the logicals. The first consistency that I have, I want to preface by saying I have seen Thor Ragnarok too many times to count. Like, I probably have it memorized at this point. It's really a problem. I would watch it, it would end, I would start it again. That's how many times I watched it for years. I'll talk about it when we get there, but one of my favorite Marvel movies probably. So anyway, in Thor Ragnarok, Korg is a Cronin. Korg is the big rock guy. He's blue. In this movie, Thor the Dark World, there's a Cronin. In that scene where we see Lady Sif and Thor for the first time and they're fighting all of these people for the 9 realms, and a Cronin comes out and he's big and he's scary and he's made of rock, and they're like, ha ha ha, our biggest guy is here to fight you. You're going down. And Thor's like, I will give you one chance to surrender. And they're like, no. And he hits the Cronin with one swing of his hammer. And all I could hear was Thor being like, well, why don't you fight him? Aren't you made of rock? And he's like, perishable rock. That's all I could think of, was that Cronins are not as strong and hefty as you would think they are, because they are perishable rock. I liked the consistency of the rock being perishable. I enjoyed that. Anyway, I also love the way that Darcy moves through the MCU, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, but I really like that she starts off as an intern who doesn't really know anything about the science that's happening. She just needed college credit. And in this one, she has her own intern. Technically, I think she's still an intern, but she's getting more into it. She cares a little bit more. And I think she really just enjoys being around Jane and Eric. And she's got her own intern now. And I like that progress of her character. And I like that later on, then she's not even an intern. Like, she gets into it. And in WandaVision, when they call her in to help them with stuff, because that's what she does. So I really like that. Speaking of when everyone's being like, Loki, if you betray Thor, we will kill you. Thor also said that, but he also was saying that he's over Loki being his brother. He's like, I know you're my brother, but if you betray me, I will kill you. This is not a joke anymore. I'm so sick of seeing you as my brother. I'm over it. Such a bluff, because he does love Loki. And then he's all sad that he dies. And like, yes, even if you're like, fuck you, you're not my brother anymore, you'd be sad when he dies. But it was such a bluff, and I think Loki knew it. Thor loves him so much. And it's not a secret. And I think he was trying to be like, Loki, this time I'm so fucking serious. I'm not going to fucking fall for it. He does, because Loki's just too devious. But I just thought that was really silly. He really tried to sell it. And we all know he loves his brother too much. And even though Loki's such a dick to him and stabs him in the back, literally all the time, he still trusts and loves him. And I think that's really sad and kind of sweet. And then he's like, I wish I could trust you, Loki. It's just really sad, I think, every relationship with Loki and his family members. But anyway, I've talked about that enough. So we get it. Okay, chill out about Loki. I do have some thoughts on the ether as a whole. The ether is the red stuff that went into Jane's body and then later becomes an Infinity Stone. So the first one is, and I may have misunderstood, but Odin says that Malekith made the ether. So this whole time, he's been waiting to find the ether again. Can he not make another one? Did he just use up all of his shit to make it? I don't understand why, instead of waiting and fighting for the ether, he couldn't have just made another one while he's sitting in his ship in a deep slumber, I assume. Make another. But I guess that's not how the Infinity Stones work. I just feel like if you can make something, make it again. Could just be me. So anyway, then the ether gets taken from Malekith. and hidden in some Asgardian something, right? And then the convergence happens and Jane gets pulled into a portal that brings her to the ether. And the ether then travels to Jane. The ether picked Jane. And I wonder why. I don't know what is so special about Jane, because I imagine the ether was sending the signals for her to find the wormholes, to then be sent to the ether, to then have the ether go into her and use her as a host body. And then it protects her. Well, it protects itself, her by association. I just wonder why, like what made her the one it wanted of all the people. Like, thank God she was in London. It just is all lines up so perfectly, I imagine, for the ether. It chose Jane. And if I'm wrong, let me know. But that's really what it seems like, because it pulled her in and then it drew her closer. And then it was like, ah, it's me. And it embedded itself into her. And that's exactly what the ether sounds like, by the way. I've done interviews. Anyway, speaking of how the ether is an infinity stone, I didn't read the comic books. I've said this before. And so I didn't know where the MCU was going. I didn't know what Endgame was going to be like. I didn't know that we were building up all of these infinity stones that exist. But I think it was really cool that they have been building up the infinity stones. We knew about them the whole time. I just wasn't paying close attention to that aspect of the MCU. But I think it was really cool when Odin was talking about how the other relics, the infinity stones, are typically stone, but that the ether is fluid. That could be a gay undertone. Sorry. So I just thought it was really cool that they were talking about infinity stones the whole time. And I don't want to say we didn't notice, but I didn't notice. So that was cool. But speaking of the infinity stones, at the, not the end credit scene, but the end credit scene, when they bring the ether to Tannelir Tavon, I think it's very smart that they're trying to keep the stones separate, obviously. All the people having one stones is bad for if they get robbed, if they want to use all of the stones, whatever. So then Tavon is trying to collect the Power Stone in Guardians of the Galaxy. And at the end, he's like, okay, 1 stone, 5 more to go. 5 more to go. So he wants to collect all 6. And I think maybe it's just because he's the collector. It's nice to have a box set, you know? But what is he going to do with all 6? Just have them? He is not nearly strong enough to wield the power. Although I'm just realizing now, I was thinking maybe Thanos made a deal with Tavon to collect the stones for him so he could just come pick them up. But then also he destroys Tavon's entire collection to get to the ether. So I guess he didn't. So then what is Tavon collecting the stones for? Because he's a creepy, weird guy and he just like wants the stones as a collection? I don't know. It's maybe not that deep, but I was thinking about it and I was just wondering. So anyway, I'm going to move on to the technicalities. I have quite a few. The first one, I'm a big actor person. I like to know who plays who. I also am a big Doctor Who person. I used to watch Doctor Who a lot as a kid, but I started with the 9th Doctor because I'm not old like that. I thought it was really cool. I love to see when my worlds collide that the person who plays the 9th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, plays Malekith in this movie. And it's fantastic. It just like the young kid in my heart is very happy that my Doctor Who and my Marvel are colliding in that way. I love it. Anyway, another actor that I found in this movie, and it was a quick thing, and I might be wrong because IMDb does not have any information on this. The scene where Loki is like, I'm a guard, I'm Captain America, you're Lady Sif, and he's doing all of these illusions so they look less conspicuous walking out of the dungeon, whatever. And then at the end, he disguises as the guard to go to Odin and then put Odin somewhere and then become Odin. Anyway, the guard, I think, is Matthew Morrison. And for those of you who don't know, I'm hoping everybody has watched Glee or knows of Glee. It's Mr. Schuester from Glee, which I also watched a lot. I was very deep into Glee in high school. It's Mr. Schuester. Ugh. Anyway, that was interesting, I guess. So moving on. Going back to the Dark Elves, I love the design of the Dark Elves. I love the concept of the Dark Elves. I love the way that their ships are built and the way that they move. Just every idea that has to do with the Dark Elves was so good. Whoever designed them and created them, bravo. I love the way that they look. Their masks, I don't know what it is about their masks, but it's so pleasing to me. Like, I want one. It's just smooth enough and just creepy enough, but also like their eyes are big and kind of cute. They're kind of like beautiful, creepy porcelain dolls. I don't know. I just love them. The masks are so good. And then that dark elf that gets brought back to the dungeon of Asgard and he's got that mask on. That mask is so cool. It's got the hair in the back and he's got these bright blue eyes peeking out. He's battle ready. It's so badass. It's piercing with his blue eyes and I don't know, it invokes something in me. I'm like, wow. It just is so stunning. And then like I said also, the way that their ships move, it's such a cool design because they're able to go straight up and go in between things and then go sideways to go in between things. And I love the way that it looks when they're moving between the architecture of Asgard. I think it's such a cool design and I feel like that ship is built for mountains, but it fits so perfectly between all of the things in Asgard and it moves so smoothly. I love it. Speaking of the way that things move though, the choreography of Frigga's fight scene before she dies is so beautiful. I love the way that she's spinning around and she's hitting him. Like, that's how a queen would fight. I don't know who choreographed it, but it was so good. And the way that her and Malekith are fighting, she's just so graceful with the way she moves, but also so powerful. I would love to fight like that. It's like a dance, but with power and strength. So elegant. I love it. This is another actor thing, but they took away my boy Josh Dallas for this movie. I think I talked about it the last Thor episode, but Josh Dallas, he was in Once Upon a Time, which I've also watched extensively, like over and over and over again, because I love that show. He plays Prince Charming. He's probably in other stuff too. I don't know what he was in, but he was one of Thor's like buddies. They replaced him, and I'm kind of sad. But I'm not that sad because it's pretty impressive the way that they replaced him with someone who looks not almost exactly like him, but if you didn't know what he looked like, they look the same. If you're not paying attention to him because he's a side character, they look identical. Like they could be brothers. And I think the recast was really well done. I don't know how they found him, but he was a good recast. I'm happy about it. I love my boy Josh Dallas, but he was good. Anyway, and then that scene when Loki is disguising himself as Captain America and the Guard and Thor as Lady Sif, I feel like Chris Evans, the person who plays Captain America, he is so down for anything. I feel like he loves a good cameo. He's in so many things, and I just love to see it. I love that he's getting work and he's getting it done, you know? It made me think of in Free Guy when he plays himself and somebody has a Captain America shield in that movie and he goes, "What the shit?" So funny. Chris Evans is just that guy and I love it. He seems like he's so down to play a cameo. It's so good. I love him. Anyway, back to the fact that I have seen Thor Ragnarok an unhealthy amount of times. The scene where Loki is dying, I can picture the Thor Ragnarok play scene where it's Chris Hemsworth's brother and Matt Damon and they're playing Loki and Thor and he's like, "I didn't do it for him." Anyway, I can picture that scene in my mind right now, but I think it was really funny watching where that scene came from. It is actually so dramatic in that movie, but I always see it as a funny thing because of the Thor Ragnarok scene. And I thought that was really fun. So that's all I have for technicalities. The most chaotic moment was when Eric Selvig, he is crazy now. And I don't blame him. He did have a god in his mind, as he said, and that would make me crazy too. And I think before I say the chaotic moment, I just want to compare because Selvig was under the control of Loki and so was Hawkeye, Clint. But I think Clint has been military trained. And part of military training, I imagine, in Clint's sector of the militant training is something to do with mind control or keeping your mind sharp or keeping your mind blocked and contained and whatever. Something to do with mind. He's been trained for shit like that because mind control happens in this area of where he works. Eric Selvig is a scientist. He doesn't have that kind of training. He also was under far longer than Clint was because Clint got knocked out pretty early in Avengers. Not super early, but like he wasn't under for as long as Eric was. Eric was under for much longer. So I don't blame him for being batshit fucking crazy. So he's batshit crazy and he's at Stonehenge and he's naked and he's trying to set up these things to stop the convergence. In his defense, the science was correct. He's just a little crazy and that's okay. We all are sometimes and it's fine. It's a good thing that he was on the news because Darcy and Ian were able to find him and get him out of jail and everything. But I also think it's kind of fucked that they put him on the news. They're like, "Look at this crazy guy. He's naked at Stonehenge. We've identified him as this really great, awesome scientist. This is his name and his picture. Let's all make fun of him. Ha ha ha. He's naked at Stonehenge. This crazy guy. He's a great scientist." That was kind of fucked. I think that was really rude. I think that if I went crazy and I streaked across something, Stonehenge. Actually, I feel like I'd have to be a renowned scientist in this example, but let's say I'm a famous, renowned scientist. I've worked very hard my whole life to be this like well-known scientist. I'm very good at what I do. And I go a little bit crazy because somebody mind controlled me, because a god mind controlled me, okay? Not my fault. I go a little bit crazy, but my science is still right. And they're like, ha ha ha, stupid idiot, you're naked. This is your name. Let's tell everybody. Could just be me, but I feel like that was rude. Show him some respect. Don't show his naked ass on TV like that. Maybe just tell the news story without showing a video. Save the man some dignity. That was not kind. Anyway, so that was the most chaotic scene. But I'm also wondering, why didn't S.H.I.E.L.D. help him mentally? I feel like they have ways to do that better than medication. Maybe S.H.I.E.L.D. got him all that medication, but I just feel like S.H.I.E.L.D. has ways to help him through mentally. I feel like they've got protocols for shit like that. They have to. They work with weird stuff all the time. I just feel like they have to have some sort of protocol to help him through having been mind controlled. But I guess not. Or maybe they're just dicks. Or maybe he didn't want to work with S.H.I.E.L.D. because S.H.I.E.L.D. has been not helpful to him and Jane in the past. I don't know. So anyway, that's all I have. I'm sorry that the gay undertones weren't longer. I really tried my hardest. But if you'd like to follow me on Instagram or on TikTok, I am at PHILM Phuckery. And if you are listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube, just know that this podcast exists on both as Philm Phuckery with a PH for both. If you are enjoying what you're listening to, if you like to listen to me talk about random stuff, or if you know somebody else who likes Marvel or likes to listen to people talk about random stuff while they're doing their dishes, doing their laundry, taking a shower, whatever people do when they listen to podcasts, if you could share this with people, if you could like, if you could comment, if you could download if you're listening on Spotify, if you could subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, any sort of engagement would help me greatly. I appreciate you and I love you all so much. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're having a great week. And I will see you next week for Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And I love you so much. Okay, bye.